Yeah, take one mic. Yes.
Good morning. Welcome to my talk. So this is a Requiem for an admin, orchestrating Bloodhound and Empire for automated post-exploitation of Active Directory. My name is not Walter Legowski, but my Twitter handle is Sad Processor. Daytime job, I'm a PowerShell automation engineer. This is the kind of stuff I like, and so in my spare time I try to build PowerShell tools for offensive purposes as a hobby. I'll be debugging some of this today, and what we're going to try and do is map Empire in Bloodhound, query agent-aware path, and automate Bloodhound and Empire with PowerShell. I hope this makes more sense by the end of the talk, by the way. Quick disclaimer, and that's done. And the plan for today, so I'll start with an intro on the building blocks, so how this is all put together to get to the end goal. And then we'll dive into automating Bloodhound and Empire, and I'll demo 3 tools that I'll be releasing code for today. Empire Strike, CypherDog, and DogStrike, which are 3 PowerShell modules made to automate Bloodhound and Empire. Finishing off, we'll have a round of Q&A, and I'll have to talk fast because I have a lot to cover, so if you don't mind keeping your questions for the end, and I'll try and answer everything, and then probably open up with an open mic on automated Active Directory post-exploitation, see what you guys think about it. So let's dive into it. Building blocks, we're going to take Empire and Bloodhound. On top of Bloodhound, we put CypherDog. On top of Empire, we're going to put Power Empire and Empire Strike. On top of all this, we're going to put DogStrike, and this is all swimming happily in PowerShell, so I hope you like PowerShell. I love it. Standing on the shoulders of giants, so I'm building this on Bloodhound, Empire, and Power Empire. Code was written by other security researchers, so credits will go to them as we talk about the tools. And let's dive into part 1, Empire Strike and Empire. I really hope I'm not going too fast. Let's do this. Quick reminder, and this is a great follow-up to our first talk on the attacker kill chain. This is my homemade version, but it's basically exactly what Kevin said. And we bring in the concept of defense in depth and the focus on post-exploitation. And Empire is a great tool for the job, basically post-exploitation framework, Assume breach mentality, so this is where it's a great follow-up. And we're going to focus on post-exploitation with Power Empire being a toolbox, if you want, with 267 modules made to replicate what steps an adversary would take in the network to get to his goal, basically. There's a REST API, so this is what we're going to be tackling with PowerShell. Credits, so Empire was built by Harmjoy and all his colleagues. If you're probably into Active Directory post-exploitation, then probably you should follow, or you already follow these guys. And I won't have time to go into any details about Empire today, so I hope at least some of you are familiar with the tools. What is Power Empire? First module I'm going to talk about. This is built by Carlos Perez, aka Dark Operator, another giant. 27 commandlets to interact with the PowerShell Empire API, and it allows full control over one or more Empire server. Listed here a few commands if you want to dig into the help pages for this module. You don't really need to use it. What we're going to use is Empire Strike, a module that I wrote, which is a wrapper on top of Power Empire. 17 commandlets with tab completion, dynamic parameters, pipeline input, multiple targets, and a short syntax. I think you said attackers are lazy. I'm a bad typist, so I did that. This is what you get. I'll zoom in a bit. These are the commands. That's what they do. Please take time if you're interested to dig into it. I said short syntax, so you can use aliases and only type that much. So it's quite cool for live action on your servers. A few commands here. and we'll dive directly into the demo. I have canned demos, sorry, but I didn't want to fail, so this is the setup we have. My attacker machine will be Black Cat, running Power Empire and Empire Strike. We have an Empire server, and we have 2 targets with agents running on them for this demo. So that's Lazy Dog, target number 1. That's Sleepy Dog, target number 2. This is my Empire server, and we see here we have agents running on those 2 targets. This is my attacker machine. I'm going to import the Empire Strike module, and this imports the Power Empire module. Connect to my Empire server. So giving the IP, the username and password I use when starting the Empire server in rest mode. And we're now connected to our server. So I'm going to run a few commands using IAC, but you could do it from the command line in the exact same way. Here I check what session I'm in, so it's session 0. I check what agent I have selected, and I have none so far. I can check all my agents, and you see I have 2 agents in this session, which match the 2 that we see here on the server. I'm going to set 1 agent as a target. You can check that again and see that it's now set as a target. I can get more details on the agent if I need, or if you want to script anything with that. And of course, we can run commands against this agent. So as strings here, I'm just going to ask for the computer name for demo. And you see here my agent is running on the computer name Lazy Dog. Cool stuff, we can retrieve objects by manipulating JSON. So here I'm asking for the date as an object. Everybody loves objects. We can have a look at this object. It's a full object and completely expanded if you want. And you could start scripting by just dotting for the properties. I'm going to run here commands against multiple agents. So all agents pipe to command X, and then all agents pipe to result. And you see here my 2 agents returned the result from the command I just executed. This is a little add-on for IAC, so as to use your script pane as a notepad if you want, without having to write strings this time. So it's quite cool if you're doing it manually. If I run F8, you see that I get my real computer. If I hit F12, I'm going to get the agent that it's running on. Same thing here. And also a cool trick if you want to do it for the command line, I added the XX command. So by typing the line number, I'm shooting this command onto my target I have in memory. As a demo, if I change agent with tab completion, notice, so I'm lazy. Same command, and I get here an expected different result as it's a different agent. So this time Sleepy Dog. Now you can do more than running commands, of course. PowerShell, like I said, has 267 modules, so I'm going to demo this quickly. Check what modules you have, none loaded so far. Check all my modules, and there's quite a lot of them, so I encourage you to dig into it. I'm going to search for a module that does wallpaper, returns the name and the description. I'm going to set it as my module to use. Once it's set, I can check the options for that module, and I can get a bit more details also if I need. I can set the option, and you get tab completion on the option name. I'm lazy. And you can check just before striking your attack, you can check all the details and finally strike. And if everything goes fine here, we should change the wallpaper on our selected agent. Suspense. It's a movie. And we should see a change here. So set wallpaper executed. And it's been changed on target. Now we can, of course, script all this against multiple targets. So it becomes easy with 4 lines of code. I'm going to set the session, set the module, set the option, and strike all my agents all at once. And here you see the 2 targets have been set to a new wallpaper. So that was my first demo. That was my first tool, Power Empire. There's more to come. Part 2, so now Bloodhound and CypherDog. So Bloodhound is an Active Directory object relationship graphing tool. It serves the purpose of situational awareness in the attacker kill chain. It's a graphical front-end to a Neo4j database, uses PowerShell or C# to collect Active Directory data. Different sets of permission depend a bit on what you collect, but I'll let you dive into this. Stores the data into the database and displays it as a graph. You can use Cypher queries, that's the Neo4j language, to query the database. And some important concepts would be node, that can be users, computers, or groups. Edges, the relation between these, and finally path, which is a whole combination of these to get to your target. All the details are in the refs, so if you want to dig into it again. That's what it looks like. So here you have an updated version. You see new type of relationships if you're a bit into Bloodhound, but that's what it looks like when you map a path here to a certain group. It was designed by Harmjoy again. Waldo, Captain Jesus, really cool guys, and if you hang out on this Bloodhound Slack, you can learn a lot of stuff. They're really helpful. Again, no time for details, so I'll send you to their wiki, and I'll demo my module, CypherDog, which is this time a module to interact with the Bloodhound API. 11 commandlets, tab completion, dynamic parameter, and pipeline inputs, so you can pipe them into each other. It's quite cool. And you can check node edges or path. You can create, delete node or edges, and you can update node properties. So we'll be using that at the end when we import our Empire into Bloodhound. These are the commands you have. Same thing, they have aliases for quick syntax. And these are the commands if you want to dig into the module in your home lab. Demo. So this time only my attacker machine, Bloodhound, running CypherDog on the same machine. And here we go. So I'm simply going to open Bloodhound, and I'm running it here with the default sample database. So you can also practice in your lab with this database. This is what it looks like. And I'm not going to go into Bloodhound, but into the module. I'm going to import the module. And then you could list the commands for this module. The demo here is a bit outdated, so you have more commands now. We're going to start with nodes, so group, computers, or users. The syntax is a bit kind of Yoda style, so you have to turn 6 backward. You'll see that. So I can ask for a node, not very interesting. Returns the node and its properties. I can search for a node with only a partial name. That comes in handy later. You can do stuff like this. So you can search user, group, computers. More interestingly, I can search a node and then update its properties. So here I'm giving it a property test with a value of 23. Once you did that, you could also look at that user, and you see, of course, the property being added to the node. When you search for a node, you can search by property. So I can search nodes with a property test, returns the one I just did. Can search node property test, value 7, there are none. Value 23, there's one. That again would be handy if you want to script your own, I don't know what, be creative. But these commands are quite handy. Here I can remove, of course, that property. So that's basic manipulation of a node. You can, of course, create node, create edges, and I'll demo that later. Now, edges, so relationship, and it was quick, but there's quite a few of them, especially with the ACLs being added to Bloodhound. I won't go into details. We're going to use something simple. Edge member of group. That group return computers none, return users IC2. Return groups IC1. I can say return groups to the degree 2, and here you see I have 2 groups. I can say 3, and I have 3 groups, so nested groups. Anybody? No. And if I ask for the users in this group to all degree, you get a whole list of people in those groups also nested. So not direct members, but indirect members. Can do some other stuff. Here I'm asking for admin to this computer. Give me the groups. And I'm going to pipe it to, again, a relationship, member of groups. So those groups I'm piping into return users. And here I get, to the degree maximum, all the users admin to that computer. I'm not sure the admin, they all need that, but that's a config. Here I'm going to demo, so edges have a direction. So the relationship has a direction, and I'm going to demo that you can query it the other way around also. So here I'm asking for the member of that group return the users, and here edge reverse this time, parent of user, this user return groups. And you see that this, there's some kind, it's slightly related, but not exactly. Finally, we can query path. And the path, you have to say first from what type to what type. So here, user to group, and then you get tab completion on the from and on the to, because that's really painful to type. So path user to group from this user to domain admin external, and have a path made of 2 steps. Not very interesting. Let's take internal. You see here 10 steps. It looks better. I'm going to put this in my clipboard. I'm going to go back to Bloodhound, type it in the query box, and display that exact path I had in the command line. That's a little trick, and that's about it. So it's an object, so of course you can manipulate it, you can read script from there, and you could automate your own NotPetya or whatever, if you want. This is what it looks like. That was CypherDog. And we're moving now to part 3, so DocStrike, where we put everything together and automate on top of this. So DocStrike is a collection of script and commandlets to automate offense, so red team actions. My idea was that the blue team could simply get rid of the red team and write their own scenario and test themselves every day if they want, so different recipe, something like this. So automap empire as node, auto-elevate, spawn, spread agents, auto-clean sessions, so removing stale agents from your empire server, other cool stuff. I won't have time to demo everything. And mainly the cool effect is that you can see your own infrastructure in Bloodhound. And this is what it looks like. So you're over there. These are your Empire servers. These are your listeners, your agents, and the targets they're running on. And we'll see that we can then query paths that are agent aware. So then you can automate from that agent to that target and probably script a lot of things. The commands I wrote so far, and the invitation is that people use it and write more and share it and share recipes of attacks. But this is what I have so far. Again, some cool aliases. Again, some cool commands to get started. And again, a demo. This time we have my attacker computer with all the modules loaded. I have 2 Empire servers, and I have 1 agent at the moment running. Slightly late, but it's okay. So we're going to be mapping Empire and Bloodhound, adding a new server, and passing an agent from one server to another, manually this time. So here we have Bloodhound. If I ask a pass from me to domain admin internal, the returns nothing. I'm not in Bloodhound yet. I have my server here running. I have 3 listeners, 1 agent, running on a machine called Lazy Dog. That's Lazy Dog. Now I'm going to go back to my console. I'm going to run the command. I'm going to check my session first, session star from Empire Strike, and then I'm going to say dogmap. This basically queries Empire and pushes everything into the Bloodhound database. So now if I go back to Bloodhound and I check my custom query, that's also something I add myself to Bloodhound, you can see your infrastructure here from yourself, having control over that session with those listeners. This agent is alive on that target. Now, if I ask for a path, you see that there's a path from me to domain admin, and I could write some logic to attack that path with all this. Now we're going to add a new server. So here I have a second Empire server, 1 listener, no agents. I'm going to check my sessions. And I see that I have only 1. I'm going to set up a new session. to this IP, same process, username, password, to connect to the server. I'm now connected. If I check my sessions, I have 2. I'm going to run dogmap again. Map my empire again. And now you see that I have my 2 servers and all my infrastructure here, my listeners ready. Nothing running on those yet. Last bit of that demo, and this is going to be how an operator would do it manually. In the next demo, I'll show you how we automate all this also. I'm going to change to session 1. I'm going to check what listeners I have on this session. These are all custom commandlets, so if you play with it, and there's help pages so you can understand what they do. And I'm going to request a stager to my clipboard, a multi-launcher for this listener. And I have it in my clipboard. So it also takes out a bit of the pain of working directly in Empire for me, but if you prefer. I'm going to put this stager in a variable, go back to session 0, check what agent I'm running on, and simply command this agent to execute this stager. I'm going to add just the blind parameter because I don't need to see the reply. Now if I go to my server, I will see that a new agent just called in. And if I run dogmap again, it will be added to my infrastructure in Bloodhound, so you will see the graph evolve. If I requested it again, there's no auto refresh, so you have to refresh it again. And you see this time we have a second agent running on the same target on a different session with the same user. So it really allows you to basically visualize your infrastructure. If it gets big, it can get quite daunting. And here again, if I ask for a path, you see that I now have 2 possible paths to that target. That was demo 1. We can do better than this. So we're going to automate, again, some of that manual process. There was still a bit of typing going on. Let's see what we can do. We're going to be spawning agent at scale. So here I have a dog watch running, which is a kind of a dog map only for agents that can be looped. So once you mapped it, you can loop dog watch. I have all my agents here. And this is what it looks like in Bloodhound. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to ask for all the agents who have a property of high integrity, so only the ones that run in a high integrity process. I'm going to get their names, so that's a bit of a dodgy syntax, and I don't think Yap is here, but he would kill me. And I'm going to pipe it to dogspawn listener and say the name of the listener. And with this one-liner, we should see, again, it's a cat demo, so I know it's going to work. We should see the agent starting to call home on the server, 1, 2, and so on. And that's only the high integrity agents have been spawned to the new listener. So you see my dogwatch has spotted those new agents. He runs every 10 seconds and check. He's updating the database, creating agents and everything. And if I go back to map the empire, this time suddenly you have 5 more agents that have been spawned. It's just a demo, 5 agents on the target. It's probably a bit of an overkill, but you could have a few running, you could want to move them, so that's how you would automate that. And it all works against multiple targets and so on. 5 minutes, last demo very quickly. Might skip it and just show you the code actually so we can finish off with a Q&A. So that was rolling your own. The demo is on YouTube. It was just for fun. I was going to get thrifty with everybody. Your Uncle Bob, so now you can use PowerShell as an offensive automation framework for live action, for scripted sequence or attack scenarios, let's say recipe for the blue team to test their event signaling. You can, of course, you're in PowerShell, so mix it with any other PowerShell module, and I would recommend to look into Invoke Obfuscation by Daniel Bohannon. You can build your own, and I invite you to do so and share them, so that would be cool. Adding functionalities, let's say notification, why not a Slack bot that would assist you in pawning all things? Why not a flashy LED display? Whatever. Imagination is the limit, and PowerShell is just like Lego, so play with it. That's the code that I wanted to show you in the demo. So that was dummy code. I was just doing some wallpaper and some Get Shrifty music on all my targets that I pass, so multiple targets. It could be, again, used for lateral movement and some Mimikatz fun here. And then, of course, it's a bit more nefarious, also a bit more efficient. The code will be available on GitHub as of tonight. I'm just back from holiday, so I still need to upload it. There's a 10-page DIY PDF on the Beside Amsterdam website if you want to try this out yourself. There's some videos on YouTube of all the demos I did and more. Just quickly, next steps, I would like to write more commandlets, maybe pass the output to GoFetch or DevStar, which are automated ways to get domain admin. Maybe hack a bit more into Bloodhound. This guy does really cool stuff, and I encourage you to look into it. I want to build a red team cookbook for the blue team to skip the red team, and I want to auto-generate the attack report by calling the Mitre API or something. There's loads that can be done here. I love automation. More tools if you're into Active Directory post-exploitation. So I mentioned DevStar by Bleeder. It uses a bootleg version of Empire Python to get automatic DA. You have GoFetch, which uses a Bloodhound path and PowerShell to get to DA. And you have Angry Puppy, which uses Bloodhound path and Cobalt Strike for the same result. Everything I mentioned is listed here. I really know I'm going really fast now. And part for our Q&A, so if you have any questions, shoot. Yes, please.
So, with all this automation that's going on in here, what's your view on just attaching an AI to it, machine learning, and letting it figure out what successful attack paths are?
I love command line, so if AI does it, I'll miss it. But I think somehow we're moving towards that type of ID in the industry. I think I'm a bit skeptical for now. I still think it takes a lot of tiny hints, and you could write, like AI is only written by the people, right? So you could write your logic for all of this, but that might be complex. Again, I'm not a blue teamer, so I think he can tell you more about this. Yep.
Any more questions? Okay.
Did I kill you all?
Thanks.
Was it too fast?